Representative Khanna and Senator Bernie Sanders are teaming up to do something that should have been done by Congress a really long time ago. They are finally taking on the greed of Big Pharma. So as Peter Sullivan of The Hill reports, Senator Bernie Sanders and Representative Khanna on Tuesday unveiled a bill aimed at aggressively lowering drug prices by stripping monopolies from drug companies if their prices are deemed excessive. Sanders has long railed against drug companies for their prices, and this bill is one of the most far-reaching proposals aimed at lowering them. The bill would strip the monopoly from a company regardless of any patents, and allow other companies to create cheaper, generic versions of a drug if the price for that drug is higher than the median price in Canada, the United Kingdom, Germany, France, and Japan. No other country allows pharmaceutical companies to charge any price they want for any reason they want, Sanders, who could run for president again in 2020, said in a statement. The greed of the prescription drug industry is literally killing Americans, and it has got to stop, he added. Drug companies argue that other countries with price controls lack the innovation that happens in the United States. The bill does not have a clear path forward in the next 2 years, given that Republicans will still control the Senate, but the measure shows how far progressives want to go on drug pricing and comes at a time when there is growing momentum for taking some action on the issue, even if it might not be as far-reaching. President Trump has also focused on lowering the price of drugs, and Democrats hope to be able to work with him in a bipartisan way. Khanna, a progressive who represents Silicon Valley, joined Sanders on the bill. Quote, "Today, we're sending Big Pharma a message. Market exclusivity is a privilege, and when you abuse that by price gouging the sick and aging, then you lose that privilege," Khanna said. So this is great. I couldn't be happier with what they're doing here. And I like how they're trying to throw in the word bipartisanship, because typically when Democrats use the word bipartisanship, it means they're going to roll over and die and do whatever Republicans want. But when progressives tend to use the word bipartisanship, it means they're going to use what Republicans said in the past and what Donald Trump said in the past against them if they don't back their legislation. So I already know what Bernie Sanders is probably going to do. He's going to do what he did back in 2017 when he blew up a Trump tweet and brought it to the Senate floor and showed that Donald Trump promised to not cut Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, but went back on that promise. He can do that now because Donald Trump has vocalized support for the idea of lowering prescription drug costs. So this is really clever of them, and I like what they're doing. It's bold, but I want you to pay close attention, because once they introduce this bill, look at the co-sponsors on this particular piece of legislation and see who is and isn't supporting it. Those who aren't supporting it are likely beholden to Big Pharma, because you've got to understand that the reason why we haven't already taken action here is because Congress is overwhelmingly corrupt and bought and paid for by the pharmaceutical industry, who spends millions of dollars not just lobbying, but making substantial contributions to politicians on both sides of the aisle. So pay close attention to who's supporting this and who isn't supporting this. Any 2020 contender that isn't getting behind this legislation, they're inadvertently revealing to you that they're not the real deal. Pay close attention to Cory Booker, who already showed that he's beholden to Big Pharma before and only caved to what we want once he was shamed. Just pay attention, because this is really going to force people to show their cards. Are you with us or are you with Big Pharma? Is people getting their medication more important to you than those contributions that you're taking from the pharmaceutical industry? Show your cards, and they're going to have to do that. And I just know that they don't like that, because everything that Bernie Sanders is now introducing is getting media coverage. Prior to his presidential run in 2016, if Bernie Sanders introduced legislation like this, no media outlet would have talked about it. But since now he may run for president, and since now he actually has a significant amount of political capital and name recognition, what he does is pretty meaningful. It draws eyes to whatever cause he's promoting. So this is something that I'm sure corporate Democrats are looking at and thinking, oh God, here he goes again. He's going to make us co-sponsor this and piss off our donors, in the pharmaceutical industry. And I love it, because if you're taking donations from the pharmaceutical industry, then 9 times out of 10, if you're bought by the industry, you're going to do what they want. So this is definitely something that I am hoping can gain some steam. I'm not under the delusion that this will get passed by a Senate that is controlled by Republicans, and I don't think that Donald Trump would sign this into law. I think he'd probably oppose it just because it came from Bernie Sanders, who may be his opponent in 2020. So he's not going to allow Bernie Sanders to take a win, and he's not going to take an L on this. But it's the right thing to do, and I absolutely give credit to Bernie Sanders and Khanna here for doing something and really just drawing attention to this issue, if nothing else. So, this is definitely a huge step in the right direction, and I love that these progressive pieces of legislation keep getting proposed, because even if we're not going to pass them right now, you still have got to take the time to build a consensus around these ideas, to build a coalition of support for them, get co-sponsors, so that way when Democrats actually do take back government again, they'll already have, put in the groundwork necessary to get these codified into law. So I love it, and I wanted to share that with you because it's absolutely the right thing to do.
Support this podcast by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Humanist Report.